And so I do think it's important for the community and the court system to see that we're taking this seriously when we have large business owners that sort of ignore ordinances. And maybe that didn't happen. You'll be in the room and be able to sort of ascertain what makes sense. But that's why I made the motion in the style that I did, and it basically gives you the discretion to go in and speak for us and address how serious this issue is for council.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay.
Lying is human nature. Proof of this is self-evident for any parent. You know, though, did you eat the cookies when all the Oreos are missing? And the little kid said, no. You know, he's lying. Got Oreos around his mouth. Well, but as we grow, it becomes clear to most that lying begets lying. You know, you gotta lie and lie to cover up the last lie. That kind of thing. That is true for most of us. We all know or have been around people who constantly lie for whatever reason. It's almost like second nature to them. It's a life of lies. They don't know how to tell the truth. There's no truth in them, or very little. The lies come in all shapes and sizes. Big lies, little lies, lies to cover up this, lies to cover up that. What am I talking about? And what has it got to do with the Liberty Report? Truth matters. Truth matters in everything. But truth in government and those leading it is essential to our republic. Truth is lacking in government at every level. You see it, I see it, we all see it. On this episode, we show yet another example of Katie Guinn's empire of lies. Roll the drums. The Liberty Report starts now.
If a government claims a right, and then their claim is that they derive these rights from the people.
Right.
Well, how can people give a group rights that they don't themselves have?
To steal from each other.
Right, if we can't tax people, like I can't tax you, where exactly does government derive this right from? And once you come to, you realize that the goal ought to be as voluntary a society as possible. Now, how exactly you achieve that, how far you can push that is debatable, but certainly that should be the goal. That if government is providing a service for you, well then why does it need to be provided by force?
It's a tangled web we weave when we first plot to deceive. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kershaw County Liberty Report. I'm your host, Jeff Maddox. And today, sadly, we have to talk about Katie Guinn again. And sadly, we have to go back in her history that we showed previously, a history of false accusation and lies that have continued throughout her career and shows a pattern of compulsive lying. Many psychiatrists call it pathological lying. It's compulsive. It's second nature. And many times it comes from a troubled childhood. The people that suffer from this compulsive lying, it becomes second nature to them, and they know that they're doing it, but they can't control it. And one lie begets another. And at a recent Kershaw County Council meeting, Katie Guinn shows again her nature, compulsive lying nature. How many of you out there have had friends or acquaintances that are all the time lying or getting caught in lies having to do with all sorts of things? I missed your phone call, my battery must have been dead or something. Or, yeah, I'll be there Monday morning at 10 o'clock and nobody ever shows up, and, oh, something came up. How many times have you known somebody that was a compulsive liar? I think many of us have. What's concerning is what happens when you have liars, compulsive liars, and you bring them into government, and the lies begin to infiltrate into your government, and the people around begin to cover up the lies because they may or may not, they may have skin in the game in that politician, and so they make excuses or cover up for the lies that are being told to the people. On the 14th of November, Kershaw County Council held a 4-hour meeting, part of which we've already covered, where I got point of ordered out and was unable to speak about the Facebook blocking, the social media blocking of an official page from Katie Guinn. And Jimmy Jones and Russell Brazel jumped in with their point of order. But during that meeting, and thank you to the citizen that reached out and pointed this out, because a lot of times these meetings go on and on and on, and you miss parts of it, and you don't go back and listen to it multiple times to understand what's going on. And we had somebody send in a tip to watch the part about the dumpsters behind the Food Lion in Lugoff. We'll just take a few minutes to listen to what Derek Shoemake brought up on the dumpsters, because there's a trash problem around the dumpsters, and they're in violation of the code of dumpsters that the Kershaw County Council had put in place years ago. Let's just listen in, and that'll give us some context.
Item Delta, planning and zoning code violations. This refers to the Watery Plaza dumpster. This was placed on the agenda by Councilman Shoemake. So Mr. Shoemake, you have the floor.
Yes, I understand from talking to our attorney that there may be an update that may have bearing on what we may want to do. So
Mr. DeBose.
if I could first get an update.
Yes, the property owner, I believe, was served with a subpoena to appear at a rule to show cause hearing that's pending for Monday for the Kershaw County Magistrate. The property owner did reach out to the Planning and Zoning Department and present sketch plans that would remediate the problem. Those are under review and they were received late today. But I do put that out there that the property owner has made contact and presented proposals and stated that they were generated last week. Again, just for full disclosures to current status of any contact with the property owner.
So Madam Chair, my motion was going to be to authorize someone, ideally yourself, on county council to go speak on the county's behalf. So what I would like to do in light of this information, because this is still an issue and we don't know how the hearing will go. So what my motion would be this, and we can discuss it. My motion would be that this county authorize Madam Chair to attend that hearing and speak on our behalf, to effectively communicate our strong interest in this getting resolved with deference of judgment to you on exactly how to best do that.
Okay. Motion to authorize myself to attend the hearing and speak on
our behalf
as
if
a whole.
necessary, and
Okay.
basically use your judgment based on the hearing and constitute an attorney as to what we need to say, but basically authorize you to speak on the county's behalf about the importance of this to the county.
Right. Is there a second? Or do we need that reworded?
Do we need a second? Second.
Second. Okay. Second by Mr. Tomlinson, and into discussion. Mr. Shoemake, you have the floor.
Sure. So basically, for those who don't know what's going on, there's a property owner, the owner of the Food Line, is that correct? The owner of the plaza where the Food Line is located?
Correct. It's the master owner that has all those leases. Correct.
And so there's an ordinance in Kershaw County that requires that trash bins, trash receptacles be secured in an appropriate manner. And these trash bins are not, and property owners in the area complain complaining because for various reasons, animals, perhaps homeless, but people are getting into those and trash is sort of going everywhere. The property owner was notified, nothing happened. He's been re-notified for this hearing. There's a fine that was imposed of $500. There was a remediation period under the law, and that fine's been running for $500 a day. There's a hearing scheduled for Monday, is that right, Mr. DeBose?
Correct, 9:30 on Monday.
9:30 a.m. on Monday morning. And so again, not knowing how that'll go, obviously, if the business owner comes in there and says, look, we've got a plan in place and, the magistrate's going to impose a fine, but I just effectively wanted this body to be able to speak. And certainly, Madam Chair, I'm happy to attend with you if you'd like, but I do think it's important because obviously any of us only speak for ourselves without a 4-person vote. And so I do think it's important for the community and the court system to see that we're taking this seriously when we have large business owners that sort of ignore ordinances. And maybe that didn't happen. You'll be in the room and be able to sort of ascertain what makes sense. But that's why I made the motion in the style that I did, and it basically gives you the discretion to go in and speak for us and address how serious this issue is for council.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Shoemaker, are you available Monday at 9:30?
I am.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that Councilman Shoemaker and myself are both authorized to attend the hearing on behalf of the entire council.
I think you two would do a fine job.
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Brazel with the second. And any discussion on that? I bring that up because you're well versed in this. You've been tracking it for a long time. I definitely want to be there to show council support as a whole. I think it does show that this is important to us. We've had some discussions about, does this kind of set the tone that we're going to show up at other hearings? No, absolutely not. I think if this council determines that we need to be somewhere on behalf of the citizens, then that's what we'll do. This does not at all mean that we're going to do this every time, but this is important, so. Yes, Mr. Jones.
I was trying not to say anything on this one, but I've been dealing with it for a year. And we've just been running in circles, and I've gotten complaint after complaint after complaint. I don't think it's necessarily a great idea for council members to, we've got a county administrator, we've got a deputy county administrator, we've got staff that could attorneys that could handle this. However, I'm going to support y'all on this tonight, but I want it resolved. We just got to have it resolved, and hold somebody accountable who lives in Columbia, who's got a green box behind the food line, CC's Pizza, and it is trash all the time. It's been trash for the last year. And I'm calling Watery Plazas, it's the Food Line Plaza. I'm calling them out because it's a shame when you got individuals who live down the road and they got to turn and look at trash because they have their dumpster in a illegal spot, for one. And they may have barriers now, but people pillage through it. Trash, the wind blows it out. Let's just get it resolved, because everybody's got too much other to do than, this should have never been taken a year for this to happen this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And I agree with you. I think the staff is more than capable of handling it. Mr. DeBose will be there. And it might not be necessary that we need to speak or do anything. All right, all those in favor of the amendment that Councilman Shoemaker attend also and be authorized to speak on behalf of council, indicate by raising your hand. All right, vote is unanimous. And motion to authorize myself to speak on behalf of the council at the hearing, indicate by raising your hand if you support that motion. Okay. And the motion passes. Mr. Shoemaker and I will be there Monday at 9:30 with you, Mr. DeBose, and we'll see if any actions needed on council's behalf.
So as you can see, there was a court hearing on that next Monday that Katie Guinn wanted to be there and promised to be there.
Mr. Shoemaker and I will be there Monday at 9:30 with you, Mr. DeBose, and
But she wasn't there.
Mr. Shoemaker and I will be there Monday at 9:30 with you, Mr. DeBose. And
Now, if we go back Was she planning on actually being there, or was that the reason that she made the amendment to include Derek Shoemaker?
Mr. Shoemaker, are you available Monday at 9:30?
I am.
Okay. I'd like to make amendment to the motion that Councilman Shoemaker and myself are both authorized to attend the hearing on behalf of the entire council.
What's interesting here is Derek has been involved with this. Derek is an attorney, and you know, it sounds like a pretty good idea that Derek is there. To me, I think Derek was planning on being there to begin with. But Katie was not going to be at that meeting. And in the end, she promised all the people that she was going to be there.
Mr. Shoemaker and I will be there Monday at 9:30 with you, Mr. DeBose, and
But did she or did she not already have something else to do? According to our sources, she was at a Council of Government Summit, Santee Lynch's Council of Government Summit. Now, when we went and looked at the Council of Governments, Santee Lynch's site, this is what we found. And here's the calendar of events. Can you notice anything here? The calendar is empty. There is no Council of Government Summit on that Monday. So where is Katie Guinn? And why did she say that she was at a COG Summit? That's the question. Now, was there an emergency called and all the Council of Governments people had to go to a summit? If so, Sammy Tucker was at that summit. Or at least he was informed about it because he is also on the Council of Government. So it's just another lie. Just like previous meetings when she would say, I look forward to being at the next meeting, and then not show for whatever reason. Or when she says that I looked at the agenda and decided that it was going to be light, and I'm going to promise my kid that I'm going to a Blippi concert. Compulsive lying. Compulsive lying in her past and compulsive lying now. We ought to be concerned about her. It's uncontrollable for her. But more importantly, how dangerous is it to have a compulsive liar leading the county? What are the traits of a pathological liar? And how do you deal with them? Because you don't know what is true and what's not true. They oftentimes mix truth and the lies together to the point where you don't know what is and what is not true. How can you trust anybody that is a habitual liar? Let's listen to what one psychiatrist thinks.
Pathological liars, depending on which one you're dealing with, some of them engage in triangulation. And it's easier for them to pull in various numbers of people, right? Sometimes 2, sometimes 4, sometimes a whole group, sometimes, the whole workforce, the whole family. They pull in and then they kind of skew their perception with the power that they hold and the influence that they have and maybe some intelligence that they have and maybe some charm. And before you know it, right, there you are figuring out why everybody's turned against you or why they no longer want anything to do with you. So the pathological liar has the ability to really make your life a living fiery place, for lack of a better word. So the moment you feed in, you're handing that pathological liar your power. Don't feed in. Don't give them anything to go off of. Because, depending on, again, what kind of pathological liar you're dealing with, sometimes they'll run and play the victim. And sometimes they'll record you. And sometimes they will just remember what you said and they'll spit it back out. but in a different way or with a different tone, right? They're sneaky, some of them. So if you don't feed in, then you're not allowing them to gain anything. You know, I always tell my clients that come in and they're having personality issues with their spouses or their friends or their coworkers, I always tell my clients, you know, this is what you need to do. You need to give the person with pathological personality traits this much to go on. The minute you give them anything, sometimes an inch, sometimes an ounce, whatever, they're going to use that against you. People who are pathological, unstable emotionally, or sick or dysregulated or emotionally unstable, whatever you want to call it, you know, these kind of individuals, if they are vindictive and vicious and sneaky and calculating, you know, their goal is to harm and to destroy and to get ahead and to gain power and to gain authority, you know, and to get over on you. So, you know, if that's their goal, right, they're going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. Just like,
And many times they'll tell you what you want to hear, and then when they move to the next group, they'll tell them what they want to hear. It's just like Katie Guinn said she wanted to make Kershaw County the freest county in South Carolina. And then she went and said recreation is her #1 priority. So it was two different audiences and tell them the two different things. A way to manipulate people, playing victim all the time, manipulating people and feelings and pulling on heartstrings.
so a pathological liar is going to do whatever, you know, they believe necessary to get what they want, which is power and control and whatever else they see fit for themselves, right?
So when we look back at Katie Guinn's history, we see false accusations, victimhood, sexual assault allegations that were later found false. Very, very, very little truth in any of it. Just manipulating to try to get ahead. Just like when she was not allowed to fly, she accused her whole command of being, because she's a woman, even though her commander was a woman. But that's the way compulsive liars are. They manipulate everybody. And Katie Guinn was able to manipulate her supporters, Jimmy Jones and Russell Brazel and all of them, into believing that she wanted what they wanted. And now the supporters are now on the defensive to try to keep everybody to cover up Katie Guinn's lies. And she can't help it, and she's playing both sides of the coin and doesn't really. In the meantime, she's going to Ohio. She's not paying attention to any of the county. When she's here, she might do a county thing here and off and going on somewhere else and making excuses and lies to cover up everything and leaving everybody else to pick up the pieces. Is this what we want leading the county? What happens when she gets everybody else involved in the lies? Well, now we see what Jimmy Jones and Russell Brazel did to keep me from pointing out the truth. The truth matters, but the truth doesn't matter. The truth cannot be spoken in the empire of lies that Katie Guinn has now built. And all of county council is tied up in and have circled the wagons around trying to protect the county and themselves from this the exposure of the lies. Let's listen to another psychologist that gives his point of view on these habitual liars, these pathological liars, and how they live their lives.
With chronic compulsive lying, it's like maybe the truth is just too mundane, which is why even when telling the truth, it can be grossly exaggerated. maybe there's some kind of internalized reward, even something as simple as look at what I can get away with. In both cases, though, they could forget what the truth actually is, so it is more like a fantasy. And it can be difficult to navigate reality if involved with a chronic liar, whether pathological or compulsive. In either case, the lies might be peppered with elements of truth, or what could be plausibly true, in order to make the lie seem more credible. And that's when we get into the realm of what's known as gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation. And in a relationship, if you're being gaslit, that's a form of psychological abuse. And in a relationship with a compulsive liar, somebody lies for no reason whatsoever about things that don't matter at all. They can be irritating. We can even feel embarrassed for them, especially when we hear them lying in front of others. Some of the research into compulsive lying suggests there are indicators that it is linked to low self-esteem. They lie, even if for no reason, to feel good about themselves. There's maybe been childhood trauma there. For example, as a child, they may have had to lie continually to avoid the parents' wrath. So it's become a maladaptive coping strategy which is no longer required. And their relationships with others become strained. They struggle with remembering the lies that they told, so they can't maintain them. They may even lie, they never said that, or they meant something else entirely. They get a reputation for being a liar, and no one believes a word they say. Unfortunately, though, in many cases, they try telling more lies to either win favour or gain sympathy for being called out as a liar. I'm mindful of a quote by Mark Twain. He said one time, "Always tell the truth. That way you don't have to remember anything." So,
we at Liberty Report questioned whether to bring this up. It's sad. It's sad when somebody's life has been filled with nothing but lies, and the trauma that drove them to that. If we look back at Katie Guinn's life, and where did the lies begin? Everything points to a traumatic childhood. And sadly, it ends here in an elected position where the scrutiny of the people, because of the authority vested in her, in any elected official, causes everybody to look at what they've actually voted in. And then to have the whole county council gather around and support the lies, not admitting the truth, not telling Katie, look, that's a lie. You know you violated the Constitution. You know you did all this. Instead of confronting her and helping her tell the truth, or helping her get some kind of help, they encourage her and strengthen her and protect her in order to protect themselves, which exacerbates the lie and causes everyone to lie, and it's the empire of lies. They're all living a lie now. And there's not one of them up there that'll speak. Not a single one. Everybody knows politicians lie. But when you've got a compulsive, pathological liar, you've got problems, because it's like a cancer that's going to spread, and it's spread throughout Kershaw County Council and the administration. What is going to happen? Our sources are telling us that they're getting ready to try to change the public comment rules so that anyone, not just me, but anyone, is not going to be allowed to speak those truths. Already currently, you cannot speak about a certain councilman or councilwoman to protect them. You got to be civil, is what they say. You can't talk that way to an elected official, is what they say. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can't speak, and you can't speak freely, and you can't criticize your government, and you cannot criticize your elected officials, you're not free. You're not free. How do we know that County Council is now defending Katie Guinn and is moving to ensure that nobody can criticize her in a meeting? Well, look at this. Jimmy Jones, Councilman Jimmy Jones, sent this out on his Facebook page. Social media has made a tiny little small group. Now notice he's got all capitals there. That means he's yelling. A tiny little small group of folks too comfortable, disrespecting people with phony made up info. No consequences. That's about to change. Now what is he talking about right there? Who is he talking about? Who is a tiny little small group of folks? You know, kind of like Obama. Folks this, folks that. Well, what do you mean they're too comfortable? And who are they? Jimmy Jones, you can't answer, you can't call them out? Who is that? Who else is speaking out? I think we know. I think we know it's the Liberty Report. I think we know that it's Jeff Maddox. Disrespecting people, he says. Is disrespecting people telling the truth? The truth might hurt, but it's not disrespectful. I'm not the one that violated the First Amendment by blocking. I'm not the one who violated the First Amendment by point of order. That, in fact, was Katie Guinn, Jimmy Jones, Russell Brazel, and the silent members of County Council. That's who that is. So the tiny little small group of folks who are too comfortable is indeed Kershaw County Council. They're too damn comfortable. And now they stomp on your rights. They stomp on the free speech. They don't care about free speech. This sounds like, to me, a threat against the people. What kind of rule changes do you want to make there, Jimmy Jones? What are you afraid is going to come out, Jimmy Jones? Now, we know Katie Guinn lied about the meeting on Monday, and she lied that she was going to a Council of Governments summit. So where were you, Katie Guinn? Maybe you had to make up a drill, a National Guard drill. And what better time to do it than on a Monday when, generally speaking, Pine Bluff Armory is on a skeleton crew. And on a Tuesday before a Thanksgiving holiday, you know damn well there's not going to be anybody there. Were you drilling, Katie Guinn? And then you flew out to Ohio for the big Thanksgiving dinner? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have. We have a pathological liar along with their merry bunch of cover-up artists, of people that don't care about truth, they don't care about free speech. They'll do anything they can to silence anybody that criticizes any of them. That's a good Thanksgiving, isn't it? The republic is dead because the people remain silent. Perhaps it's time to open up and speak. Perhaps it's time that we all put down the television, put down the boob tube and the mainstream media and the Kardashians and football, and pay attention to the people that you have running your life. You're either free or you're a slave.
Look back and do it when there's no one else around because everyone's afraid even to have unapproved thoughts now. But go through like the last 15 famous people who are canceled for saying the wrong thing and ask yourself, is the thing they said wrong? You may not agree with it. It may offend you. Some of the things people get canceled for are kind of offensive in my opinion. But that's not the measure. The measure always and everywhere has to be in a free society, in an honest society, in a decent society. Is it true? Truth has to be a defense. And it used to be our first defense. You would say, well, in fact, there was a guy who used to say, facts don't care about your feelings. He's changed his views on that recently. But that remains true. The facts matter most. And even more important than the facts, the truth of the facts. What do they mean? That's the most important thing. And it used to be, you could say, well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I always say to my children, never tell the truth about other people in their presence because it can really hurt them. I told my kids to lie. The only lies that hurt people are the true ones, the only attacks. Don't call a fat girl fat, that's cruel. But in the end, that's a function of politeness. I was telling my children to be polite, to care about the feelings of others, which I think is super important. But as a legal matter and a cultural matter, you cannot punish people for telling the truth, period. Or else you become an empire of lies. In every sense, both in a literal sense and in a spiritual sense. That is just true. And if you are governed by people who actively hate the truth and who lie for the sheer animal thrill of doing so, you are living in a dark time under very dark people. And the stakes are the ultimate stakes. It's not about who gets elected. It's about what happens to the world and your soul. And so my advice, what can you do about that? It's a very action-oriented, practical country. So people are always like, well, what can you do? I have no freaking idea what you can do. Write your congressman, he's not gonna read your letter. Go to your school board meeting, you're gonna get arrested. I think you should do it anyway. I think you should tell the truth anyway. I think the only way to stay alive and fully human in a moment like this is to resolve that you are going to tell the truth in every and all circumstance. And if you can't say it out loud, stay silent. If it's going to hurt the feelings of someone you love, that's an absolutely justifiable reason to be quiet. But in every other circumstance, whether you're standing in carpool line with all the fashionable ladies in your neighborhood at the stupid private school, no offense, I sent my kids to one too, I hate them. Or whether you're at a dinner party, or whether your wife's friends are over in their Soul Cycle outfits talking about something and you disagree, there's a way to do it. You can be gentle, you can be empathetic, and you always should be. But you should never allow yourself to repeat anything that you know is not true. That will destroy you. That is the mark not of a free man or a citizen, but of a slave. That is the difference between freedom and slavery, is the right to say what you actually think. That is the line. And anyone who is trying to force you to lie is A, your enemy, and B, believes that you are subhuman. Because that's not the way you treat adults. By definition, you have to deal with adults. They may have different views, different interests, different goals, and you have to contend with them through the aforementioned process of politics, through negotiations. I want this, you want that, let me convince you. You are not allowed to say to a free adult citizen, shut up, you must do this. Under no circumstances can you do that. You can't do that in the middle of a pandemic. You can't do that in the middle of a war. You can't do that under any circumstances, or else you are no longer a citizen, you are a slave. And worse than that, you have degraded yourself. And that's the real cost. Clearly the people who run things see the rest of us as slaves. That's obvious to me. I can't imagine how it could be more obvious. It's crystal clear. They don't seek consensus. They're not interested in the public's opinion.
Speaking the truth in the empire of lies is a revolutionary act. And so it is here in Kershaw County. As anybody that speaks truth to power.
Madam Chair, has indeed violated the First Amendment rights.
Point of order.
Is shut down, is screamed at. The police are called to escort them out. And then they are threatened on social media, blocked on social media, and now the empire of lies is working hard to try to manipulate the rules, to squash dissent. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear it. See, you're smart enough to vote, but you're not smart enough to opine on anything that they're doing. You're not smart enough to run your own life. You're not smart enough to plan, but you're smart enough to vote. The man of the people is coming to save you with the rules, the protocol. That's all we have is the protocol, is what Jimmy Jones says. Oh, I'm the man of the people. I'm all for free speech, except when it's speech I don't like, and it's not civil, and it's not respectful. Or as Aretha Franklin says, oh, give me some respect. Just a little respect, don't you know? Ladies and gentlemen, respect is earned. Respect doesn't come with an elected office. You don't automatically get the respect. You have to earn that respect. And as of yet, this county council has not earned anybody's respect. It's led by a compulsive liar, and now all of county council is a liar right along with her. For the good of the people, Katie Guinn should resign. For the good of Katie Guinn, she should seek some serious help. I wish her the best. I wish her the best in her new life in Ohio. But we, the people of Kershaw County, have to protect ourselves from the empire of lies. Till next time, peace.
You can't handle the truth.
Okay, Mr. Shoemaker, are you available Monday at 9:30?
I am.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that Councilman Shoemaker and myself are both authorized to attend the hearing on behalf of the entire council. But yes, absolutely, I'll be there if this council would like us to be.
I think you two would do a fine job.
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Brazel with the second. And any discussion on that, I bring that up because you're well versed in this. You've been tracking it for a long time. I definitely want to be there.
You can't handle the truth.
They are hiding behind a facade of lies. But the operative word, the verb in that sentence is hiding. They're hiding. Who hides? Weak people hide. Scared people hide. People who can't stand sunlight hide. That's who hides, and that's exactly what they're doing. They are weak, and they are afraid of the population. And I'm sad to say the population has given them very little reason to be afraid.
if a government claims a right, and then their claim is that they derive these rights from the people.
Right.
Well, how can people give a group rights that they don't themselves have?
To steal from each other.
Right, if we can't tax people, like I can't tax you, where exactly does government derive this right from? And once you come to, you realize that the goal ought to be as voluntary a society as possible. Now, how exactly you achieve that, how far you can push that is debatable, but certainly that should be the goal. That if government is providing a service for you, well then why does it need to be provided by force?